And thank you for joining us for this session of Tennessee History Day Starter Pack series. This is our resource walkthrough. So we're going to be looking through everything that's available to you online and physical copies of things too that exists to help you navigate the framework of National History Day. My name is Nikki Ward. I'm the state coordinator of Tennessee History Day, which is the Tennessee affiliate of National History Day. And I'm joined tonight by Courtney Beard, who is the assistant coordinator of Tennessee History Day. She's over in East Tennessee in Knoxville, working in the museum field there, and works with me as well. So we are going to hop right in to this is kind of the areas we're going to focus on. So we're going to start with a kind of general resource. I'm going to write this down too in my notes so that I make sure I hit these in the order I want. Guidebooks and then NHG materials. I'm going to show you some theme materials. We're going to look at student resources, that's project specific, research specific, and then organizational tools. For me, when I was in sixth grade, that was the thing that I needed the most, was stuff to help me keep them organized. Planning materials for teachers, the rubrics that exist online, and then PD that's available to you. And I'm also going to point out some partner institutions. Those would be your regional coordinators, Discover Tennessee History, which is a consortium I'm a part of, the Library of Congress as a resource as well, and then other state affiliates. I am definitely a subscriber of the beg, borrow, and steal method in teaching. I was always finding great curriculum pieces from other educators that I worked with. And it's the same with National History Day. We always try to share the wealth with each other. So if you're unfamiliar with History Day, then there are some starter pack sessions you can watch that cover Tennessee History Day 101. They walk through kind of the basics of the program, and those are still available online for you. At its core, it's project-based learning framework where students are asked to be the historian. They complete independent research and create a thesis, and then present that to a larger audience. It's great as a means of authentic assessment, especially with that performance piece at the end and the rubric as your standards by which they are being judged in that assessment. And that can be your classroom. You can do this at the school level. There is a series of regional contests that we'd love for you to be a part of in the state. And it can also be your community. It can be patrons at the library. It can be a local museum. The big idea here is taking students beyond engaging with material in a rote way, which is always the challenge with pacing in the classroom, right? But history without an argument is an encyclopedia. We're trying to get students past the encyclopedic process, just the memorization, kind of shuffling those dates and ideas around, and really digging into sources, turning that into an argument, and then presenting that argument. We are the Tennessee affiliate of National History Day. So you don't have to do Tennessee topic to participate in Tennessee History Day, but we sure love when you do. Know that that is an option for you, but it's not necessary. It's not mandatory. We are a part of the network here across the nation and across the globe. There are affiliates all over. And all of them, everybody is participating in the National History Day program. They are doing a year-long history education program. The contest itself is 6 through 12, and students can pick any topic in world, national, state, local history, as long as they are going back far enough into the past. The historians have written about it, and they can find those secondary sources in the beginning of their research. They compete as either juniors or seniors. That's grades 6th through 8th grade in the junior division and 9th through 12th in the senior. And if they're participating in the contest cycle that starts at the school level with you, they go to the regional, state, and then national contests depending on how they do at each of those. I like to really focus on NHD as an application of inquiry. If you're familiar with the model of inquiry in the classroom, this program, as you're looking at the bits and pieces of it, really dig into not just the elements of each stage of inquiry, but also the back and forth process, right? Those arrows go two directions. Students are constantly going back and forth between these modes of inquiry. And in National History Day, students are asked to wear 3 different hats. They research, analyze, and present. And as they're doing each of these things, like I said earlier, they kind of hop back and forth. But each of these hats for you require different stuff to make sure that they are doing the things they need to be doing to accomplish the tasks in front of them, which can be challenging. So, we are going to spend some time looking through stuff online to make sure you know where everything lives, at least right now in the fall of 2025, and see if there's anything that you need. I always like to hear what resources could make things better for you. To understand the resources that are available, first we need to know what the project components are. So if you're unfamiliar, they have to have the project itself, which is either, that documentary, exhibit, performance, paper, or website. And they also have written materials that go with that. So they have an annotated bibliography and a process paper. Both of those are specific in that students are asked to answer specific questions in their annotations, and they're asked to answer specific questions in their process paper. We'll look at some resources that cover that in a moment. I talked about how the cycle progresses, and I'll come back to this later. So we are going to jump to looking online at those resources that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to stop my screen share for just a moment and readjust. All right. Let's share again. All right, we're going to start here. It's always thrilling because I have every time I do this, I'm always like, I really need to clean up my bookmarks bar. So we are going to start at the thing that will never ever change, which is our website, knock on wood, TennesseeHistory.org. That is the Tennessee Historical Society's website. I'm an employee of the Tennessee Historical Society. I don't work for National History Day. I am also the membership director and programs director at the Historical Society. So this is a function of my position there. And all of your resources will permanently be linked out from here. In the future. So just know that if you can't remember one of the other websites I've sent you to, odds are it's linked somewhere on here. When you go to our landing page at TennesseeHistory.org, you can see at the top Tennessee History Day. It's one of the largest programs that we do, so it's kind of front and center there. And you can click it. It is also /Tennessee-History-Day. And this is your landing page. The first thing you're going to want to do is look for your region, which is where you are in the state, because that is going to facilitate who you talk to come the springtime. If you know your county, odds are you do if you're teaching, you can look and see what color you're in. And let's say you teach in Knox County, that is here in East Tennessee. Below, these are links. You'll click East Tennessee, and you'll head over to the East Tennessee History page. This is your one-stop shop for the regional contest. I update this page for each region when it comes to registration guides, day of contest instructions, if your coordinator gives me any of those, performance upload, documentary upload, all of that will live here because it's specific to you in the East region. It also has your contest date, contest location, and the email of your coordinator. I would recommend, if you've never done History Day before, or you're new to Tennessee History Day, or if you have been out of the game for a little while and you're coming back, jumping back in with some students, reach out to your coordinator at the regional level. Get on their email list because they will occasionally send emails in the fall, and they definitely start that up in January. Some send new at this point to let us know that you're coming to a regional contest. That comes when you do the registration in January. But this, making yourself known to them will definitely make sure you're pulled into the loop if any information is going out in advance of the registration deadline. The dates for this year are up here. And just to double check if you want, your guidelines or your counties in that area are there. Something on this page that I want to point out are entry limits. These are unique to each region. And these are how many students you're allowed to bring in each category and division. The reason we do this is because space is limited, even if it is a lot for a contest. If you have 150 eighth graders that are all participating, but they're each doing an individual exhibit, you can't bring 150 eighth graders because what if everybody does, right? That's a very teacher answer. So we have to kind of accommodate for that with the space that we have. And just be aware of that as you are planning out how you plan to tackle History Day with your students. The other thing I'll point out here are the exhibit and performance guidelines. In Tennessee, we ask students to submit a photo of their exhibit in their written materials and a recording of their performance. The reason we do this is because Tennessee Februaries are chaotic, I guess is the word I would use to describe it. I don't know if everyone's going to have the flu. I don't know if we're going to have ice for an entire week and no internet. Who knows? So we kind of make plans for that in advance because if for some reason we are, Tennessee snowed out, which could be 2 inches, but then we can still have the contest. So that's important for us to make sure that is done. So that is your regional site. Let's go back to the main landing page. If you come onto the state contest, there's a state page and a national page as well. This takes you to the toolkit. We'll explore that a little bit later. And then down here, this is a little bit separate, but you'll see a lot of the same kind of things are linked out in multiple places. This is just a getting started page. Sometimes it's nice to have this one bookmarked too, and it has the rule book in Spanish, the theme book for the year. We'll look at these on another site later as well. NHD guidance for AI. This probably will be updated in the coming years. This is something everybody's navigating, and we like it to be shared to the students both sides. So this is guidance for students and this is guidance for judges. We want the students to know how we are talking to judges about AI. It's one of the first questions we get. So make sure that if you share this with your students, they're seeing what we're telling judges as well, because we want that kind of transparency so that we know it is something we're all navigating. On this page, you'll also find a link to the curriculum site that we're going to look at in a moment, as well as a link to the permanent page for the starter pack series, which if you're here, then you probably found this somehow, right? With links to previous sessions, as well as or upcoming sessions, as well as a link to get you to the Padlet to be able to watch the previous recordings too. So if you come here and you watch any of these previous starter pack sessions, what you'll do to get your PD credit is just click this form, see if it lets me do it. You'll fill this out. I check this every couple weeks and I send those out. If you've filled it out and you haven't gotten one from me, send me a nice little nudge email and I'll get that your way. So that is how you watch those previous recorded sessions. The Educator Toolkit is a Padlet page. It looks like this, and we'll spend some time exploring it, but you can find it linked here on the Getting Started page, as well as one for students. This needs to be updated. I will be doing that next week, but it has a lot of information for specific to students. So category videos, rubrics, dealing with things like historical context, wide research, just some things that are specifically written for students. But this usually gets updated in September, and so it's on my list of things to do. The last link I'll show you here on the Getting Started page is the contest information and office hours page. These have the regional contest dates kind of all in one place, as well as the deadlines that are the same for all regions. Category videos. So these videos are specific to each category and they talk about what submission it looks like for each. There's those exhibit and performance guidelines again, and then another link out to the starter pack series. If I end up hosting office hours this year in the spring, they'll get posted here. And those office hours are just an hour where I'm in a Zoom room. You can pop in and out with questions about registration, student materials, that kind of stuff. I like to make myself available in a defined hour so that You know when I am kind of captured online. All right, so that is that page. And again, this is all on our website. A lot of this is links out to rubrics, checklists. Some of this is old that needs to be probably updated or removed, but they are there if you ever want to take a look. And then there's some sample projects if you want to see examples of student work. All right. So from there, I know I mentioned the curriculum resource website, so we're going to hop there now. Um, Well, let's go to the Padlet first. So the Padlet is some of the same information that's on the curriculum site, but it is, if you've ever used Padlet before, I like it because it's pretty easy to update quickly, and it is all visually right there in front of you, so you can find what you need quickly. This is your column for your theme, all of the theme stuff for the year, so this gets changed out every year. This link is permanent, so you can bookmark this and it gets updated every year. I don't make a new one each year. So this is the theme book for this year, as well as the video. NHG created a theme worksheet this year. Looks like this. It is a brainstorming page for students to use as they're generating ideas and questions about the theme for this year. And remember, that theme is the anchor for your student project. And I like when we're thinking about it in the classroom, it's a tool for developing an argument. Sometimes students have never had to do that academically before. So it can be a little bit, I don't know, nebulous for them to develop an argument, right? What does that even mean in a historical sense? So when we pair that with a theme and they know they want to talk about Diane Nash, well, they know they need to develop an argument. That seems hard and confusing. But if we pair it with a theme like revolution, reaction, reform in history, we say, how did Diane Nash reform or, participate in a revolution or a reaction, right? How do we pair that with that? They're then looking through sources with a sense of purpose, and that helps them develop that argument. With that, it's really important students understand that theme. So spending time on the theme, anchoring that language, making sure they understand what does reform even mean, um, can help them as they jump into looking through topics. So I developed a establishing definitions and topic exploration activity. This is easy for you to update if you would like. This is all built out in Google Slides. You can download this as a PowerPoint and then update it for your own classroom needs. So I did this with some Tennessee topics, but you're welcome to do with whatever you'd like to hit in your classroom. And there's a procedure page at the front, and within it, you'll see links out to specific stuff. So what students will do is work through the slides that have the definitions for each section. I pulled that directly from the theme book. And what they're going to do is write the definition they see on the screen, rewrite it in their own words. What do they think that means? I will say reform is a little bit, and you can add in an example in your own content if you'd like. I left that there for you if you want to point out a specific example, if that would be helpful for your students, or look at what they did the previous year, content from the previous year, so that you can anchor in something they already know. With reform, the definition itself uses 3 words that I thought were a little challenging. So I did it a little further. We dug in a little bit more and defined those specific terms. And so that's why you see that there. And then what we do is, what questions do we have right now? There's a making connections activity. Students will open up an article to something on the Tennessee Encyclopedia here and read it. They're going to mark which of these they think that hits. It can be all 3, it could be just one. And then they're going to explain their reasoning. They're going to explain why they think that is a reaction to something. From there, so that is what you could swap out for something in your content standard, something from a previous year. And then there's some wrap-up questions. We're looking for patterns. We're looking at for types of topics that were covered in what you selected. Think about the topic you found most interesting. What types of sources? So we're thinking about the way we're going to be doing that research. And then what questions do they have? This is online and available for you, as are the slides. And again, you can download them as a PowerPoint or Google slide and update them for your needs. Rulebook always lives here as well. Getting started, this is where starter pack, you can find it linked out here. And I have a couple other webinars that are available on here from previous years. We've done webinars for a couple summers, and some of them are partnered with other organizations like Teaching with Primary Sources at MTSU. And if you watch one of these and would like a PD certificate for it, just email me and I'm happy to. You'll just tell me what you gained from it, and then I'll send that certificate your way. This guidebook lives pretty much everywhere online that I do. We wrote a grant with Teaching with Primary Sources from the Library of Congress and wrote this guidebook for Teaching with Primary Sources and Tennessee History Day. So this is a really great primer on what is History Day here in Tennessee, how does that look, and the PDF itself is linked out, so you can find websites in it, and it goes over the rules for every category. It has a timeline, and then curriculum pages that are on these are also online too. But at the end, there's sample bibliographies written by Courtney. And then at the very end, you'll find, wow, look at this. Okay, there is lesson plans. So if you want to see how you can pull in History Day into your classroom teaching, this is online. It's a great example of how we're hitting content standards, how we're hitting social studies practices, and we're also hitting some of those areas of the NHD rubric. All right. Yes, the newest guidebook. So this was written in 2021, but a lot of it is evergreen. A lot of that information isn't going to change, and then new materials are available online all the time on their curriculum website. But this is the current copy of that guidebook. I will also point out two other guidebooks from NHD. So this is their Library of Congress teacher guide. It is much bigger than ours. It is, I printed it. It's 300 pages. You don't need to do that because it's all online. It does take a minute to load because it is so large. But I will say one thing I really love about how they did their guidebook is it is all fillable PDFs with the worksheets that are within it. So if you were to download specific PDF pages, you can just put those in your LMS if you're using Google Classroom or Chalkboard, and students will be able to engage with it directly. If it will load, I may have to take you to the website directly, which I can do because I believe I have it pulled up here. So again, all of these things live multiple places all at once. Sorry, I have to make sure my dog doesn't find a squeaky toy again. He likes to make himself known right when I need him to be quiet. All right. I think I'm looking in the wrong area. I should know where these live. Nope, teaching research skills. That's exactly where it is. Okay. So this is the one for teachers. You'll have to click this button here. It opens the PDF up for you. They always find the exact moment you need them to behave for about 45 minutes, and no. So this is their guidebook. It's really wonderful. They also use the Library of Congress, so you can find resources about exploring that repository here. And then it's grouped into these chapters. I won't go over them specifically. You can look at it yourself, but they really are wonderful because what they do is narrowing your topic, for example. They're going to use a specific example to explain how to do that. And then what is a research question? That's great. And then when we get to one of let me find over here. Where's the one I was looking at earlier today? Oh my goodness. This book is a lot to navigate. Okay, this one here, it's not going to work for me. Well, I promise it was fillable earlier, so I guess on certain pages you'll be able to find some of them are. But it is all of the worksheets. If it refers to something in the lesson itself, in that activity, it is embedded in the document too. So I find that really helpful, as well as links out to specific Library of Congress websites. They also have one for students. It's linked on the Padlet. It's also right here. And this is student facing, so it's written for students. And you're able to find resources, same deal. It is written for students to kind of work through, read through. First thing is understanding how to navigate the Library of Congress. And then it starts with picking a topic and going from there. So this one, here we can see those fillable topic funnel, primary sources that make me want to learn more. And then, each chapter, again, is student facing. It starts with, this is what we just talked about. Here's what we're going to do next. So this is a great resource too. So those are the guidebooks that are available for you. We've covered the NHD theme, and you can see everything else that's on this toolkit. The rubrics are here as well. Workshops, any workshops I have coming up, or some of my partner institutions, I'll try to highlight them there. I'm working on building out more literacy specific tools. The whole program itself, students are engaging in literacy in every form all the time when they're doing it, but it's nice when it's specifically laid out for you, so that your administration knows that you're aware of that and hitting those topics. We will look at that when we look at the curriculum resource page in a minute, but the historical vocabulary stuff lives here too. There's that AI page we talked about, and some sample lesson plans, and additional specific to project resources. One of the things I wanted to point out, these are some additional lesson plans that were built by some Tennessee History Day educators that, so these were the ones that are in the 2021 guidebook. And you can find, so here's a Brainerd Mission School lesson. There's the standard, but also all of the materials that she mentions are linked underneath it. So if you're doing it in class, you can just go click, click, click. It's all pulled up and ready to go. All right. So with this, I'm going to scroll over here and make sure there's nothing else I need to cover. Those category videos I pointed to on our website, they're here if you want to see them here. NHD Web Central, which is required if students are doing website, they have to, and competing, they have to build it out in NHD Web Central. This is your kind of column for that whole situation. So you can find, anytime they send out new materials, they'll send out an updated Web Central guidebook each year. So I'll get that updated here, a guide to counting words. These are videos on the NHD YouTube page. Their whole YouTube page is really great, so I recommend bookmarking it and exploring. Sometimes they have videos that are specific to students. So this one's about wide research. You can play it in the class. I think it's great. I'm so sorry. Let me mute myself again, make sure he's quiet. We have a cat that lives next door that is his nemesis, so. All right, so with NHD Web Central, again, there's also examples there at the bottom from NHD, which are helpful. I talked about the YouTube channel. If you are ever wanting a History Day shirt, just plug our merch. We sell them through Bonfire. One of my favorites is our Cite Your Sources shirt. I think it's funny. So that is available online too. We had a session a couple years ago where we looked at each section of the rubric, and I had somebody in the field that knows a lot about it. Most of them were veteran teachers, participate in kind of a panel. And then Lisa, who is the East Tennessee History Day coordinator, and Rebecca Bird, who is a veteran National History Day teacher, really dug into a mentoring session. So I clipped these into sections, and you can watch them by specific rubric if you're interested in those. This column, it's titled Anchor Charts, but honestly, it's more it's a few anchor charts, and then I'm trying to do more project management for students. This is a group work management system that worked well in my classroom, and you can use it as a strategy for students tracking who's doing what when. And it's all kept in one folder. They close that folder, put it in your classroom, and that way you're able to track what they're doing. So there's just a lot of other stuff on here you can explore. That's kind of the heavy hitters there towards the beginning of it. Over here on getting started, nope, where is it at? Look at, I'm not even remembering where I have everything. Project resources, the curriculum website you see right here. So if I were to click that, it would take me to this page. This is the curriculum resource site. What I'd had before was a folder, and the folder was turning into spaghetti. It was just too many things in there. So I figured I'm going to make it a little bit cleaner, and I hope that it's easier to navigate. So this curriculum site, it's different than our main page because it is specific to resources. And I'm able to give a little bit of an explainer next to each. All of the things that you find over here in this left column are linked within this timeline. So if you're like, well, when would I even use this? This is just my suggestion. You may disagree and want to use it somewhere else, but this just kind of shows you an example of when these things can be used. I grouped them by function. So you're going to see project introduction is here. Some things that I recommend you keep in mind as you begin. Here's those theme activities I showed you earlier. And then this is that historical vocabulary activity I talked about, which is very similar to the theme. We're just going through definitions. We've really got to make sure we understand what does this mean. So there are some discussion questions embedded. You might use these as bell ringers, use one each day as you're kind of introducing the project, or you maybe power through all of them together. And so this is a page of all of them. There's also one that is fillable if you want to have them keep that in their binder. That is an option as well. Again, these are downloadable and editable however you'd like on your end. I did want to point out, I realized I didn't do this earlier, for this page, I did one that is a little bit of a guided note if you have students that need assistance with some writing. So that is filled out a little bit for them, and that is at the end of this whole activity. Some other things that are on here that I wanted to point out that are not in the guidebook. So these down here, topic funnel is a great way to funnel down to a research question and an argument from a general interest. So how do we go from World War II to women in factories on the home front in Tennessee? How do we get there? This helps us as we funnel down. A topic proposal page if you want your students to have to propose what their topic is with a few sources they've already identified. Here's a couple pages that help you decide on a topic, do some preliminary analysis of that topic. Those are all available in the guidebook. These are more general writing tools. So this is the building blocks of a paragraph. I worked on this with Dr. Susan O'Donovan, who's the West Tennessee History Day coordinator. And this just takes us through what is a paragraph? How do we use a paragraph? What are some things paragraphs do and don't do? Like they do not change subject midway, right? They're not a string of statements. There needs to be connection. So if we're going to develop a History Day project, we got to start here too. And so these are items that are available for you to help with those basics. That is junior level. There is one that is more for high schoolers. And this is just nice to keep in your binder, pair with an activity. Similarly, this is one on argumentation. So how do we use primary sources when we're making a claim? This was also done with Dr. O'Donovan, and it talks about stating your claim, explaining your claim, and demonstrating your claim, and that those two things are different. How do we differentiate? What does that mean? And what does that look like? So this is developed to talk through that with your students. There's some discussion questions, an example of what an argument could look like as an outline, and then a practice page. So how do we do that? This has students find a claim and underline it, They're going to find an explanation and highlight it with one color, and then find the demonstrations and highlight those with a different color. So you're analyzing and breaking apart a text. This is a writing guide, also done with Dr. O'Donovan for primary source analysis. This is just to pair with, let's say you plan on doing a lot of primary source analysis in the classroom throughout the year, and you don't want to have to go over all of these every time. This is something you can print. And so you read the prompt for understanding. What is the goal of the assignment? What's our learning objective? Don't answer the question yet. You have to research first, right? And then our analysis questions, add all of that up, write out your answer, and then our checklist before we submit. Like, is your name on it? Have you answered the question? Those kinds of things. So that is available here on Project Introduction and Theme Resources. Jumping to Project Basics, all of your rubrics for each category. As a reminder, the front is the same for everybody. Historical quality doesn't change depending on your category type, but the back side does. So that is the side that has, is your audio too loud, or maybe it's too quiet in your documentary, that kind of thing. Something that I developed way back when, this is instructional rubrics. These are helpful for students that this is independent work. You can assign these to students as maybe you've got a table in the back, you're working with some pullout. And this is, they self-reflect. They are going to look and say, okay, where am I at with historical argument? I give myself a 2. Why am I not a 3 if I'm a 2? Why am I not a 1 if I'm a 2? What can I do to make improvements to that? And I tell them it needs to be actionable. You have to explain how you make those steps. And then some personal goals that are maybe unrelated to content. Maybe they know they want to change the colors on their website, that kind of thing. These are good for independent work, bell ringers, or students that maybe need to point out where they are doing well. Maybe you know that student has hit theme really well, and you're wanting them to highlight that in their own work. And it gives them the power to figure out how they need to make improvements on their own. It's also good for students that, I may have mentioned this earlier, that need less on the page, or just a little bit more of a concentrated focus in the rubric. These are items for each of the areas of the rubric. So we've got historical context page. Here's one for multiple perspectives. This is a suggested timeline from another educator. This is a research question page. I like this. This is from Derek Griffin in East Tennessee. And he wrote this so that students know there's different types of research questions, right? And how do we know what types we've asked? It goes beyond an open or closed question, right? Is it stacked? Is it an opinion or ethical question? Is it absent? It's nice to see what types of questions students are generating and for them to reflect on that, right? That metacognition of thinking about their thinking. And the last thing I'll point out here is this one on clarity of presentation. So this is for students that have built out their project. They're kind of pretty far down the road. They're really wanting to make sure they clean things up and tighten things up. This is about aesthetics. Clarity of presentation is the backside of that rubric. So how do we make sure we are analyzing that too? Because often that's the thing students are most important about is the actual documentary when it's done, right? Or the exhibit itself. So this is a reflection page for that. Research tools, things to help students stay organized, or things to help them as they're navigating the rubric itself. This is an annotated bibliography tracker. This was written as an accommodation, but honestly, it's good for all students. It's a visual representation of the amount of sources they have for each category. So let's say we look and they have tally marks for 25 photographs and nothing else. Well, that's not a wide variety of the types of available sources, right? That's a lot of one. So how do we, spread things out? We're looking for even distribution on this page. Some information about plagiarism, some resources there, finding credible sources. This is a keyword keeper. This is to help students like myself that tend to rabbit trail. So maybe they are doing some research, they come across a case law they want to check out, so they write that here instead of, diverting their attention elsewhere for an hour. source sheet has been around for a little while. This is helpful for your future self will be grateful for this because students do one for each of their sources, and it can be added to your LMS if students want to type it out instead. And they're able to track it. So when it comes to their annotated bibliography later, they remember exactly what they used, how they used it, where it came from. These questions are about bias, so they're able to, that helps with wide research and multiple perspectives. And then these are your annotation questions. So if they do these in the moment or reflect on them later, writing those annotations won't be as hard. The last thing I'll show you on this page is a task tracker. This is again for those soft skills, helping students stay organized. This is good for you kind of have one every week. Again, you can put this online and it helps students navigate. One of the hardest things to learn is time. How long do things actually take me? When you're 12, you have no concept of how long something like this is going to take. So they're able to kind of practice that. And especially if it's intentionally built into how you structured the procedures of the program. So students make a list of what they need to do that day. They prioritize it 1, 2, 3, 4. How long do they think it's going to take? Is it done or not? Bell ringer task at the end, 3 questions. What did I do today? What do I need to do tomorrow? What questions or challenges do I have? You can look and see what's going on with them. What did they get done? Oh, they got nothing done today, or oh, they need my help with this. There's one for each day of the week. And then the last is what did I accomplish this week? What are my goals for next week? What help do I need? What questions do I have? And that way on Monday, when you start again, they're not like, I don't remember what we did. You can look back and see exactly what we did last week and what we need to do today. So that is online for you as well. That lives as a Google slide, so you can update the questions, make it look how you need to. There's an entire page for written materials on the curriculum site because I know it's something we get a lot of questions about to make sure everyone's understanding and clear. The the expectation is MLA or Chicago. It does not matter which, but it needs to be consistent. So don't have them switch halfway through. They stick with it the whole way. Their specific questions for their process paper are here. Their specific questions for their annotations are here. Information on your style guide. Here's some quick tip videos from NHD. And these are guides on the side. So these are pages you can print. Students can do a rough draft, and it has the rules down the side for you for both. A checklist for written materials, and some general resources for credit and annotated bibliography. I also wanted to point out this guide from National History Day. It's a really great guide on the annotated bibliography. It really dives into it, and it has linked out YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff is available here. All right, let's look at resources for you. We talked about the guidebook earlier. And a lot of this is stuff. There's the guidebooks from NHD are here as well. Literacy Choice Board is on here. There's a sample letter for sending home if you plan to send a letter home to parents and guardians. Rubric codes are just a quick way to give feedback. You can read the directions there if that's something you might be interested in doing. This is a group participation rubric that I developed from the Authentic Assessment in Action book so that everyone knows the expectation of what they have to do to be a functioning member of the team. This is placing the theme in the context of your classroom. Let's say you want to spend some time looking at revolution, reaction, reform in your content standards. You'll list the standard, how does it relate to the theme, and some potential resources you can think of. And I'll tell you, they cycle through the same themes every like 12 or so years. So if you teach for longer than 12 years, you'll have some help from your past self. And then the biggest thing on here is your History Day roadmap. So this helps you plan out all of these pieces that come into planning this. So students and grading. So who's doing it? Is it optional or required? How will I scaffold or modify it? Group size and project and topic choice. What is my maximum group size? We say 5. You can say whatever you'd like. If your max size is 3, that's fine. Uh, don't let 5 7th graders work together. It will end in tears. If students can work in groups, am I going to let them self-select? How does that look? You know you and your kids, so you figure what works best for you. Opportunities for collaboration. Don't do this labor by yourself. If you have somebody you can work with, do, whether that's your librarian, whether that's the AV teacher, theater teacher, if you have some performance kids. Um, Again, I mentioned the librarian. They are such a wonderful resource in your school. Reach out to other local institutions. Competition cycle, are you competing? What region are you in? The theme, and then student learning outcomes, kind of having those answers, like what are my goals for my students at the end of this, so that if teachers ask, if your administration asks, you have that written of like, what is your goal? And then planning with the end in mind. What is my assessment? How am I doing feedback? What skills do they need to learn to be able to do this successfully? Community buy-in, is there some way to get the community involved? If a student's doing a local topic, can you reach out to a local history museum to see if they're interested in it? Do you need media literacy practice? Do we need to determine what is AI and what isn't when we're looking at images? What kind of stuff do we need to practice before we jump into that research? So that's on there for you as well. Quickly, because I have managed to, it just always goes so fast when we're looking at everything that's available. There are upper elementary resources if you are in upper ed. There's also modified resources. So if you have students that need less on a page or the rubric's too much, this is a checklist version of the History Day rubric. This wouldn't be eligible for a contest, right? But this is great practice in advance of that contest, and it gets them familiar with the language that's in there. It's either do they do it or not. There is a category that is school level only. So there's poster division. If you know you want to do History Day in your middle school and there's an elementary school that the teacher would like to work with you and they want to practice those skills in advance of moving up to middle school, this is great for them. So they could do a poster in 5th grade and then do History Day when they get to 6th grade. And this is an example of what that poster could look like. There's a rubric for poster, again, school level only, but it's the same. It's been pared down a little bit, the language there, it's more accessible. And then tools for judging if you decide to do a school level contest. The last 2 things here, there's a PD page, so starter pack again, as well as anything else I have going on will be here too. So there's going to be a research roundup in Nashville at TSLA this September. We're excited about for students. They can come and attend mini sessions to learn more about the specifics of each of these pieces of the program, and then they can have a one-on-one consultation with an archivist at the State Library and Archives if they'd like to talk to them about their research. This is also where I point out Discover Tennessee History, which is a consortium I'm a part of, and any past issues of the History Day newsletter. I link right there for you. So if you want to look at it again, it's there. Partner institutions, this is a new page, so I'll be updating it soon. But if you want to look at more things from the people I work with, this will be where you go. All right, really quickly, because I have really approached 6:30 here. The other things I wanted to point out, because I managed to cover everything else, was those partner institutions. Discover Tennessee History is a consortium that I'm a part of. If I can find my website here. So this consortium is all of these institutions, and we often offer PD together. The kind of next few years, we're all working together on the 250th effort here in Tennessee, and we're doing a Tennessee Teacher Institute. We did one this summer in July up in Sycamore Shoals, and 50 educators from across the state attended a 3-day institute. We'll be doing it in Middle Tennessee this summer, and next summer will be West Tennessee. So this meeting 2026, and then 27 will be West Tennessee. Then I wanted to point out, besides the History Day itself, their website is obviously a wealth of all kinds of things. Their videos, their classroom tools are here. They have their own curriculum and blog entries on specific things. This is where you can find out about their institutes that they're doing. I really recommend tossing your hat in the ring for anything they have going on because the PD is really wonderful and it gives you, sometimes these are actual grad school credits that you can receive, or you can receive all of your PD is basically done with this whole because it's quite a bit of learning, but it's a great program. So check this page periodically, see what they have going on, and that's where those guidebooks are. They have courses occasionally that they do record and make available online. Their argumentation series is fantastic. Even if maybe you're like, I don't want to do the whole class, I just want to watch the videos, they're here. So if you are wanting to watch their sessions, it's a 4-part kind of series on argumentation with students. It's all available here and on their YouTube page. The last thing I'll point out is I don't work alone in the sense that I have wonderful colleagues across the nation that work very hard to provide for their teachers too. And so I'm going to point out the big guys that have a lot of stuff online, and then you can explore any state that has a program. Look at their website because they all have really great stuff. So Minnesota Historical Society has one of the largest programs in the entire NHD world. And they are very kind to share it with all of us, all of their resources. So if you go to the Minnesota Historical Society website, you can find pretty quickly, if you go to Educate over here, National History Day is where their stuff lives. So there is a page just for you under teachers, and they have all of their stuff listed by kind of function. And you can also find it over here, and I find their kind of walkthrough is really great. So they kind of have it listed out as a timeline, like I do as well. And then all of them are grouped by function, and you'll find all of those here. They have like a staff of more than 1.5, like Courtney and I. They have upwards of 10 people, I think, that work with them, and all of them. And they also work with really wonderful teachers. So they make everything available here. California History Day, another huge program that is wonderful to share the things that they generate. You can find their stuff under their teacher tab here. They have planning links, they have suggestions on communication, all that kind of stuff, as well as videos too. So they're able to develop videos. Ohio History Day, they have some really wonderful materials that you can find online. They have, theirs is broken out. If you go to their education tab, theirs is broken out kind of over here on the right, and you can see their suggested timeline of things and then lessons and resources. These get updated fairly frequently for them. So, link it, check occasionally, see what they have that you like. They have their own theme packet. It's kind of cool to see what everybody else pulls together for the theme each year. So here's their suggested topics over in Ohio. Georgia Humanities is the last one I'll point out. Georgia has on their website, let me see if I can navigate to it. On their National History Day website, for participants, you click over here, NHD Georgia website. They have all of these different types of things available online, stuff for students, stuff for teachers. We're going to look at their teacher guide. And theirs is broken up by units. So this is how they did their guidebook. You click here, it takes you to a PDF of the first page. And you just go back, you work through. So that's kind of how they have their guide set up. All right. The last thing I will point out again are those partners here. So Teaching with Primary Sources, Middle Tennessee History Day is the, oh, I need to update that, don't I? They are now the Southern region kind of leaders for TPS. And so their website changed. I need to update it on mine. But they have all kinds of items available for you too on their website. Mostly how to navigate the Library of Congress, which is a wonderful resource for your student. Their teachers page, it links out to the Library of Congress teacher page, but they also have resources on their own teacher page that have really great curriculum pieces for students. And I need to figure out where those live. Here they are. Lesson plans, source sets for each. So if you, let's say you teach world history, write like a Sumerian, here you go. And this is from them. So that is TPS at MTSU. The Secretary of State's Office of the Tennessee State of the State Library and Archives. They are one of the sponsors of our contest, and the ed director over there used to be me, like 12 years ago. She was the coordinator of History Day. So she has a big heart for it and always works to provide resources for it. They also, in general, have really wonderful resources here if you're looking for ways to connect students to Tennessee standards, but also how do we engage with them with an online repository or an in-person repository. They do meeting, like you can schedule to come and visit the library with your students if that's something you're interested in doing. And then East Tennessee Historical Society is East Tennessee History Day. Lisa is a wonderful resource to anybody that needs assistance from her. And then the State Museum also has a lot of resources as well as traveling trunks if you're interested in doing that in your classroom. And I'll mention the State Library and Archive have docs boxes that can come to your classroom in a similar way. Well, I have now talked for an hour about all of the things online. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me about them, and you'll fill out the PD certificate for this, and I will get that sent out to you. So everybody that's watching the recording, thank you so much for sticking with me for an hour, and pardon the dog that popped up occasionally, but that's what I get for working from home. Thank you so much.